Hey, 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 what's going on, my people? What's going on? What's going on? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can I get a thumbs up? Can I get a thumbs up? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can I get a thumbs up? All right, so that's good. You can hear me. What up, people? So right now I'm chilling. I'm chilling at the pool. And I just wanted to talk about a few things on this live. So I'll wait a little while to check and see if I can get some people to come on. Let me check if I see my mic works. Mic works. How's the mic? Mic good? Mic works. Mic good? All right. All right, good. So one of the things I wanted to talk about with them, I wanted to talk about a lot of things on this live. I guess the most important thing, there's a lot of important things. One thing I want to address is crime. Now, I guess the question I have for this live is the higher costs or the rise in costs of living here in DR, is that connected to the rise in crime here in DR? So sit on that. Are the higher costs connected to the rise in crime here in DR? So in just the past few days, a lot of crime. I mean, there's crime all the time. So I don't think that you can say that, you know, crime hasn't been happening, because it's always been happening. But crime in general in DR has gone up. So I think that's something to keep in mind. But before I jump into crime, talking specifically about DR, I wanted to talk about the Shanquella Robinsion situation. So if those of you who have not heard, Shanquella Robinsion, she is a young lady about 24, 25 from Charlotte, very popular on social media. And she went with a group of friends to Mexico on a trip. I think this happened last week or the week before. So she goes to Mexico with a group of friends, and within 24 hours, you know, she dies. Now, why is she on a trip with her friends, her so-called friends, who told their mother that, you know, her mother that she's sick from alcohol poisoning, when the autopsy came out and everything came out, and found out that she was actually beaten. You know, her spinal cord was broken, her neck was broken, that she was actually beaten. So they are, you know, relaying information to her family that, you know, this is related to alcohol poisoning, when it comes to find out that she dies over, you know, basically being beaten to death. So I've seen a lot of people talk about this on social media and on YouTube. But one of the important things that I see that people are not really talking about is the company you keep. The company you keep. Look, I tell you this. For the most part, you know, during my travels, since I've been traveling, since I've been 18, most of my travels have been alone. And there's a reason why I don't do those guy trips or going places with friends, and why I go places alone. And now I go places with my wife, But there's a reason why I don't go places with, big groups. It's because stuff like this happens. There's arguments, and then you on a trip with a friend or a group of friends that is an argument, then there's conflict, and then you're not talking to one another, and then it just ruins the whole trip. I mean, why invest all that money on enjoying yourself to take a vacation where you spend the whole time mad because of the conflict you have with the people, or you don't really know someone, and then come to find out you really get to know them while you're abroad. I mean, it's just a whole mess, man. And my heart goes out to her family, and the fact that this young girl who had a promising future, so much to live for, went on a trip with some so-called friends, and now she's dead. And now she's dead. And more and more information is still coming out, with this situation. But it's just really, really sad. And then every time you turn on the news, I mean, not that I have to turn on the news, I get news notifications, whether it's on my Twitter feed, or whether it's coming from Instagram, or people are sending me stuff. People always send me stuff. There's just last night at a gay club in Colorado, 5 dead, over a dozen wounded. I mean, it's just crazy how in the United States, how there's constantly a massacre, constantly. I mean, it seems like it's on a daily basis. It's just a massacre. Something like this is going on, and I wonder what the people who are lawmakers, who can or the movers and shakers of society, what are they thinking about when they see that? Does it cross their mind that, hey man, we should really do something about this? Or is it just like, I don't care, I'm good, I got my gated community, I got my my mansion, I got my money in the bank, I got my legacy is going to be good for my family. I don't really care about the massacre that happened at the club last night, or the day before the massacre. I think it was I don't know if it was like in a shopping mall or something, and before that, a school, and what happened in the University of Virginia. I mean, it's just constantly stuff like this going on, and it feels like it's not a priority for the people in power to make changes to protect its citizens. And I mean, let's be honest, it's been like that for a long time, but it's just that it's mind-boggling how, when you see something that's wrong, and these things that are wrong that happen time and time again, you don't, try something different to make it better. So again, it's sad about all that's going on, and yeah, but to bring the focus here in DR, right about a couple of days ago, I don't think it was I think it was the day before yesterday, I received a notification from the U.S. Embassy here in DR. Now, for those of you who live in DR or frequent DR or any country outside the U.S., and those of you who are American, I highly recommend that you sign up with the embassy in that country to receive notifications on things that are going on, so that you can always be up to date on updates and what's going on in that country. So 2 days ago, I received a notification, and let me bring it up, because I think it'll do more justice if I actually bring it up and read it word by word. So in this notification, it says, and I quote, "This message is to advise U.S. citizens that in recent months, travelers to the Dominican Republic have reported being delayed, detained, or subject to heightened questioning at ports of entry and in other encounters with immigration officials based on their skin color. Reports of treatment of U.S. citizens by Dominican authorities are a matter of ongoing concern to the U.S. Embassy. In addition, in recent days, as reported in Dominican media, Dominican migration, DGM, agents have conducted widespread operations aimed at detaining those they believe to be undocumented migrants, especially persons of Haitian descent. In some cases, authorities have not respected these individuals' legal status in the Dominican Republic or nationality. These actions may lead to increased interaction with Dominican authorities, especially for darker skinned U.S. citizens and U.S. citizens of African descent. There are reports that detainees are kept in overcrowded detention centers without the ability to challenge their detention and without access to food or restroom facilities, sometimes for days at a time before being released or deported to Haiti. So the embassy advises that U.S. citizens too carry your passport with you, carry a charged cell phone, and notify the U.S. embassy immediately if you need assistance. And they left the number on there as well. So there you have it. They sent out this message, and when I saw this, I could not help to think that, I mean, I know, I mean, I live here, I'm here in DR, you know, for the most part. So I am aware that, you know, there are, you know, what's going on. I think it was about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Dominican government put out that they are cracking down on undocumented people in the Dominican Republic, which honestly, I mean, I live here, you know that is geared towards Haitians, because Haitians make up the majority of the undocumented population because the country's right there. So there is a lot of movement with that. In addition, and not to say that Dominicans are racist, because that's not the case. I mean, generally speaking, Dominicans are not racist, but there is, like in most African descendant and also communities of people of color. I mean, that's just what it is. There is a sense of colorism which exists here. So therefore, there is even though you have dark skin, darker than me, Dominicans who are Dominican family from DR, you know, etc. There is a common practice or common belief to associate darker skinned people with Haitian. Even if you're from another country, it doesn't matter if you're from the US or you're from another country in the developed world or developing world, darker skin, it's associated with Haiti because Haiti is right there, and that's the relationship, you know? So with that said, as a darker skinned person, people will assume by first impression, often assume that you are Haitian until they see how you're dressed, or until they see how you talk or how you move or whatever. Then they'll be like, okay, this person's not Haiti because they know Haitians, right? But even with that case, there's always been some level of xenophobia towards Haitians because of the history between the two countries. You know, it's always been, and whether you have, I don't want to say two rival countries, but whenever you have uh, people with different backgrounds, there's always a sense to gather people that are more like you or think more like you and point out, hey, they're the bad people, right? And they're the people that's messing things up. I mean, you look at the U.S. with the heightened political environment where you'll have, hey, the Democrats are messing up the countries, you know, and then all the Republican, you know, leaning people will all band together and say, hey, the Democrats are the bad people, and then they'll, you know, and vice versa, right? So you have that same thing too here, when, you know, between Dominicans and Haitians, and that has spilled over to the point where, yeah, depending on that person's day, who's in power, the police or that Dominican migration agent, they may assume that, hey, where's your paperwork? You know, especially in those areas. You may not find it in tourist areas, but you will find it definitely closer to the border of Haiti, where you'll see a lot of, if you ever been to the closer to the border of Haiti here in DR, there's a lot of movement and a lot of activity on cracking down on undocumented Haitians. So there you have it. I think that for the most part, you have nothing to worry about here in DR and those who are traveling here. But it's always good to keep that in mind. Just knowing the environment, you know, and knowing the situation. Recently, I mean, I can go on and on because, damn, man, every day I'm seeing at least a couple of videos of things happening here in DR as far as crime. Whether it's a group of people, you know, robbing someone, or I saw a video where, and you will hear a lot of Haitians too. I mean, a lot of Dominicans too. A lot of Dominicans that will, they just have, not that they hate Haitians, but they have a distaste for sort of like, they want to point the finger, and it's easier to point the finger at Haitians because I guess they're not Dominican, or they're sort of like the other. It's easy to point the finger at them than to say, hey, you know, it's Dominicans, you know, or whatever the case is. It's just easy to do that. So you'll find a lot of Dominicans point the finger at Haitians to say, you see that video? That's the Haitians are the problem because they're the ones that's you know, running up in people's homes and robbing people. Or they may say it's the Haitians that are atracando, or robbing people on the street for their cell phones or whatever the case. Yeah, there are Haitians, but there's also many Dominicans doing the same thing, right? So, but I think it's more common that you'll see that there rather than come across a lot of Dominicans that will just say, yeah, it's both Dominicans and Haitians, you know. It's just easy to point the finger at someone else, or the other, I should say. So I say that because I saw a video recently, yesterday, someone sent it to me where a Dominican, it was, you know how here in DR, you have a lot of street vendors, or you have a lot of Haitians. They have a cart, a fruit cart, and they'll like go through the city or go through the neighborhood selling fruit, you know, whatever it is. And that's what they do. That's how they earn their living. So I saw one video. Of course, I didn't, the context, some of the context was left out because you didn't see what happened before. I just saw that a guy who may have been Dominican was, you know, this hassling this small, it was a big Dominican dude, or dude who could be Dominican, hassling a small Haitian dude where it looked like almost like a little kid. Small Haitian dude with this cart, he's pushing it. And Haitian dude just trying, from the context of the video, he's just trying to sell his fruit. He's just trying to get out of the way, go about his business. And the guy kept threatening him with the machete, the other guy, the big guy. And he even whacked him a few times. And look, the little Haitian guy just trying to, go about his business, get out of the way. And then at some point, the big guy hit him good with the machete. And the Haitian guy took out his machete, the little guy, and he was just, I mean, you would have thought he is trained in the martial arts of machete fighting, because this guy, he can fast, and he hit the guy good one time in the face, and the guy went down. I assume he died. And you had the whole time this is going on, you had a huge crowd of people. This is probably like in a busy street in a city somewhere, in the town somewhere. A huge crowd of people around, and no one is stopping this, trying or attempting to stop this big guy from bothering this small guy, this small Haitian guy. No one. And you see that so often, not just here, but around the world, man, where people are quicker to pull out their phone and record and sell the video or put it up on social media for views, rather than to jump in and de-escalate the situation. Because I'm pretty sure that, I know the guy had a machete, but someone can at least try to jump in and de-escalate the situation and let that Haitian guy go about his business and continue to sell his fruit, right? But that didn't happen. And now the big guy is probably dead. And now that small Haitian guy who was just defending himself, looking at the context of the video, he was defending himself. Now he got that on his conscience, and no one wants that, man. It's just, I know that people want to blame others for their situation or for what's going on in the world, but in all reality, there's blame to go around everywhere, man, and you just can't take it out on one person or one group of people. You just can't do that. You can't. And I just hope that in some future here in DR, and there'll be less people will have less disdain and less just treat one another better. It doesn't matter the country of origin or the language or their socioeconomic state. Just treat people better. Because I mean, I could talk about that, and I can talk about how Dominicans treat one another. I mean, there's really some really good Dominicans and who are really law-abiding and really care about people and really want the best for people. And there's others who are, look, man, they see you walking on the street and there's no one around, they'll rob you, right? So, yeah, it is what it is. You just gotta be careful. And now, with that said, I don't want to paint the picture that DR is dangerous or it's a mean country, because it's not. It's not. It really isn't. But I can tell you this, though. I can tell you this. There seems to be a trend with the pandemic pretty much behind us now. Well, it is behind us now, at least here of most of the world. But the pandemic behind us, costs of living, costs of services, costs of products have risen dramatically here in the Dominican Republic. And that's probably the case in much of the world. But with that, there is no doubt that crime has increased here in DR. No doubt about that. Now, will that affect the almost 99% of the tourists that come here in DR? No. That rise in crime will not touch 99% of the tourists that come to DR. That whether they're going to Santo Domingo, Las Terrenas, or Samaná, Punta Cana, Bávaro, La Romana, a Boca Chica, Valladolid, Cabarete, Sosúa, Puerto Plata, Nahua, Santiago, Jarabacoa, Constanza, San Juan, total, all those places, like, that's not going to touch you, right? Crime, the rise in crime is not going to touch you, and the rise of costs may not touch you as well, because, to be honest, it's still much cheaper here in much of the developing world. So, but there's a situation here in DR where the salary, people's earnings have not increased, right? People are still getting $300 a month, $400 a month, for a job where the cost of going up, and that money is getting harder to stretch to make ends meet. And naturally, I don't want to say natural, because I don't want to say that means that, people are broke, so they're going to rob, or people are struggling more, so they're going to rob. That's not the case, because, most people who are struggling and getting by, they're not going to go out and rob people. But there is a connection, and crime is going up. Violent crime is going up. Murders have gone up. So again, most people that come here to visit, they're not going to experience none of this. They're not going to see none of this. But there is a trend here. So I say that because people need to be on alert. They need to be aware of the surroundings of what's going on. And that is what's going on here in DR. I just put up a video on my channel, I think it was either yesterday or day before yesterday, that there was, and this is all over social media, there was a taxi driver. I believe he was driving in driver. I believe he was. He picked up three young women, and there's no audio, so you can't tell what's being said. However, he's become suspicious. I don't know if it's because of the things they were saying or the things they were doing. And then he looks back, like he's driving, he just looks back like this a little bit, and she sprays him with pepper spray. One of the girls in the back. There's two girls in the back and one girl in the front. Sprays him with pepper spray, so now he can't see, and now he's like driving crazy, and they're getting mad at him because he's they're saying something like what are you doing, drive safely or stop driving crazy, whatever. But I guess he's having issues seeing, and he's like swerving a lot and everything. And a couple of times while he's swerving, one of the girls in the back stabs him with a knife, right? Like stabs him, sort of like, it looks like in the shoulder area. I don't know if it really connected or she was attempting. So he's swerving. Eventually, he like takes off his seatbelt and he's swerving. And once he crashes, he jumps out the car. And right as he's like getting out of the car, the girl in the front seat stabs him. Like you see that connect. And he takes off running. So why do I say that? Well, I say that because a lot of us here who are living here in DR or visiting here in DR or spend a significant amount of time here in DR, a lot of us, we take if we don't take public transportation, we're taking, Ubers or InDrive or taxis. And we got to be careful. You got to be careful. A lot of folks, they want to be really cheap and take that carro público, that public car, which is basically like a acts like a bus, but it's a car. And they'll like put like 3 or 4 people in the back and 2 in the front, and 2 in the front seat, and that's how they ride. And they have like a little route, and then it's really cheap, right? A lot of people take that. Well, that A lot of people get robbed in those cars, right? Just like they get robbed in Uber, and get robbed in driver. Yeah, the levels, it's a lower risk when you're taking Uber. Well, it's a low risk when you take an driver, but it's a lower risk when you take Uber just because of the safety precaution that Uber goes through. But there's always a risk. So keep that in mind. You know, when you're looking at driver, if that driver, before you accept that ride, if he only has 10 rides, 20 rides, you might want to look at someone else. You know what I mean? You might want to look at someone else. Look at the person that has 1,000 rides, right? Get that person that has 1,000 rides, or 900 rides, who has a score of 5.0 or 4.9. You know what I'm saying? You want to take that guy or girl, because a lot of females out here driving too. For Uber, Uber, you can't select. Uber selects for you. But when you take an Uber, just take precautions. Send screenshots to your friend or your family member. Where you're going. I'm in this Uber. Whatever. There's a part on there where you can also share with someone else on your phone, contact on your phone. So all those things, take precautions, man, because it can happen to anyone. Don't think you're coming out here, you a big dude, or I'm smart. I've been traveling, for decades. It can't happen to me. It can happen to you too. I mean, everyone knows all those scopamine stories out there in Colombia, where seasoned travelers think it can't happen to them, and then they get scopamine, right? Do all the things they know they shouldn't do, right? It can happen to anyone. So just be mindful and be careful. Be mindful and be careful. So last week I broke down who's this? Sex, fine dates. That's all this garbage. This spam. Yeah, so last week I broke down my cost. So every Sunday, midday, I go live. Like, this is a thing that I've started, and I'm doing go live. I talk about whatever. Last week I talked about the cost of living in the Dominican Republic. And I broke down general costs, my costs, and sort of, loosely compared it to what I was paying in the US. So I do want to talk about where have the costs gone up here in DR? Where have the costs gone up in DR? I've seen the costs go up significantly in the grocery store. I go grocery shopping. Every 2 weeks, I go grocery shopping. And I spend about anywhere between 10,000 to 15,000 pesos, right? So that's anywhere between $175 to about, $200 and something, right? So I do that every 2 weeks. The costs have gone up for a lot of things. I know I used to buy, I still buy a gallon of olive oil. And when I first started buying a gallon of olive oil, it was about 600, 700 pesos, right? So that's about maybe $10, $11, like $11 to about, $11, $12, right? A gallon of olive oil. Then the cost went up. Woo! Then I was paying double for a gallon of olive oil. Double. Then it went down. Now it went down a little bit to where I'm paying 20, but still, or 20 bucks, I should say. So when I'm paying 11 to 12 bucks, and now I'm paying 19, 20 bucks, it's a huge difference. So that's just to show you that now everything in the grocery store hasn't gone up significantly like that. You'll still find produce to be, most produce, not all, to be cheaper, cheap for the most part. But you'll find that fruits, I've noticed that fruits, the cost of fruits have gone up. Anything imported has gone up. Meats have gone, even though most of the meats come from here, have gone up. So the cost of living has gone up, and me personally, I've seen it more so in the grocery store. My electricity is going up about 200 pesos. During this time frame. So cost of living is going up, and that is something to consider for those folks who are looking to move here. I love DR, man. DR is a beautiful country. I love the people. I love the culture. I love, the geography where it's located. I love DR. DR is my style, right? But it is definitely something that you need to consider when you're considering costs, because it's gone up and costs will continue to go up. And when costs go up, continue to go up, and the salaries of the average Dominican does not go up, that's going to create instability in the economy and it's a society, right? So I can't tell you this. I mean, let me tell you this. This country is becoming more and more stable now. We look at, if you're looking at, let's say 2018, 2019, and now we're going into 2023, the Dominican Republic is a much more stable country now, much more stable economy now than it was in that short time frame. So the country is moving in the right direction economically, but the vast majority of the people, the vast majority of the people are being left behind, right? Are being left behind. So is that an ideal situation that you want to get yourself into when you're moving to another country? Maybe you don't care as long as it works for you. It maybe doesn't matter, but I want to tell you that it does matter. So that's definitely something you want to think about. I don't see myself living full time in the Dominican Republic forever, but I love this country, and I would definitely have some roots here forever. I definitely see that, but living here full time, no, not because I hate the country and not because I hate where the country is going, because no country is perfect. All countries are going to have their issues, but I like variety, and I want to experience other parts of the world as well, other countries as well, and I definitely see myself doing that soon, somewhere down the line. Not soon, as in next year, but maybe the year after. Maybe the year after. Maybe the year after, I will consider, applying for residency in another country. We'll see. We'll see. So I don't have any one out there talking. Anyone got any questions? Any comments? Cualquier cosa, una pregunta, comentario. Cualquier cosa. Nada. All right. So I would say this. Now that I talked about all that, there's something I really been looking at, and I'll just talk about on the channel. Maybe this interests some of you. I've been really, looking at or investigating and figuring out what people are doing when they're traveling. What are people doing and what are their intentions? So I see a lot of people on social media, so-called, digital nomads, so-called, early retire, or whatever category they fit in, and what they're doing. They're traveling from country to country, which I think is dope. You have a lot of travel vloggers. Look, I'm no travel vlogger. I travel. It's a travel channel that I talk about travel, right? But I'm no travel vlogger. I'm at the crib for the most part, right? So I don't really go anywhere. Um, that's just what it is. But um, I see a lot of people traveling. I wonder what they're doing and what their intentions. For me, it's very important to do things with a purpose. And someone say, well, I'm just traveling the world, I spend a few months here, a few months there, a few months there. I think that's dope. But I think if you like it, if you travel to a country and you like it, you really like it, you should, in my opinion, I feel like you need to have ties somewhere, right? You got to have ties somewhere. And maybe people who are traveling have ties to their home country and that's it, which I think is cool too. But for me, I feel like you're missing out on a lot if you can develop ties in different parts of the world, right? I've noticed that there is a sector of that travel space. There is a sector that, look, they are methodical in their movements. If they go to a country, yes, they're going to a country to sightsee, to experience the people, experience the country, experience the lifestyle, experience the food, etc. But they're going there to say, hey, can I do business here? Can I buy real estate here? Can I get a residency here and lead to an eventual second, third, fourth, etc. passport? Can I easily learn the language? Right? Can I learn something? Like they go to these places for specific reasons. I mean, there's a sector, that travel sector, that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. Especially black people. Like I haven't heard any black YouTubers talk about this travel sector. So now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to talk about it a lot, right? You're going to hear from me because this, to me, I feel is amazing. Look, I'm still young. I'm 37. I am a resident here in DR, and of course I'm a U.S. citizen, and I think that is a very important, a very important part of travel, especially if you're really into doing business and you want to open up new opportunities. Sorry, I just got a message, lost my train of thought. All right, so there are people that are going to these countries, so they will decide, okay, look, man, a lot of us travel just to get away for a week, a couple of weeks, and to go back to the U.S. or wherever our country is from, and get back on that grind. Look, and there's also some out there that travel for women. Yeah, there is. There's they'll go travel to a place specifically for women, and then go back home, and that's it. Look, I ain't knocking it, but I think you're selling yourself short by doing that. If you're just doing it just to travel, just to get away for a week or so, I get it. But again, I think you're selling yourself short for this. I remember before I go further, when I was in the Peace Corps, and I was living in Peru, I say my cousin. It was not real cousin, but I say he's my cousin, right? And he would always be on this, business. Like, how can we make some more money? How can we find a deal or open a business or he was always on that, always. And me, I'm 22 years old. I'm in Peru. I'm just doing what a Peace Corps volunteer does. Developing projects and interacting with the people and exchanging and I'm in that. I'm not in that business mindset. I wasn't there. But now I'm 37. Looking back on what he was doing, he was trying to push me to look at that stuff. Like, hey man, look at this, look at this, look at this. There may be an opportunity. And now I'm living here in DR. I have a much more open mind to that. And I recommend folks that when they're looking to go to these countries to visit outside the country, to look at those opportunities, because you may find out that you're going to a country and then they have a shortage of something or demand in something, and you can jump on it and meet that demand, and boom, you have another stream of income. So when you're traveling, look at those business prospects. For me, my next place I go to, the key things I'm looking at is a stable economy, right? I want to go to a place that's still cheap. The cost of living is cheap, but it is a stable economy, a stable government. So I think a stable government is key to having or maintaining a stable economy. So stable government. And for me, because I am still relatively young, I want to look at, is it easy to get a residency? Or will it be more expensive? Hola, ¿cómo está? Will it be easy to get a residency? And will that residency lead to a passport? How good would that passport be? Will it develop issues with my current status, right? Stuff like that. So I look at all that. I've been looking at all that in my next move of where I'm going to go to next, because though I still, like I said, I will still maintain my roots here in DR, but I'm leaving. I will be leaving the country, because, like I said, I like variety. I want to experience another part of the world, another country. Yeah. And one thing I also found out too, that the U.S. passport is not, though it's a strong passport, it's not amongst the strongest passports in the world. And passports are evaluated not just based on their visa and visa-free access to the country where they have visa-free access, but also on the on elements of like taxes or elements of amongst other things, right? But for the most part, it is based on a visa and visa-free access you have, or visa on arrival access you have. Countries, the U.S. has many, but it has a lot of restrictions, right? Mostly you'll find some of those Eastern East Asian countries such as like Japan and like South Korea, Singapore, and you'll have some of those northern European countries like you know you know Denmark and Finland and stuff like that has like the strongest passports. The U.S. doesn't have the amongst the best. And also, I was checking to see, all right, which one of those countries that I should consider have good ones, right? You know what? I never considered Mexico. I never considered moving to Mexico. For one, because it's closer to home. I've been to Mexico a few times. Even though Mexico has some really nice places, it's not really my style. But Mexico has a strong passport, really strong passport. Mexico has a residency that's ideal for. I mean, it's ideal for people who are looking to move to Mexico. There are many countries across Central and South America that have opened up with their countries to have easy access to residency. So if you are a remote worker, or you're retired, you make so much money a month. They have created this avenue in most of these countries for you to move into the country and with the residency that allows you to work towards becoming a citizen. And for the most part, Central and South America and nearly all the countries, it's within between 2 years, well, in some cases 1 year, between 1 year and I say maybe some countries I've seen about 7 years, where you can actually get your residency and after 1 year or 7 years become a resident. I mean, become a citizen, right? And in a lot of these countries, you can become a resident and you don't have to be in that country every day. You don't technically have to live in that country to maintain your residency and work towards becoming a citizen, right? So that is definitely something that I've been looking at. I have not seen any, like I said, Black YouTubers talking about that, or even or looking at that, or so. But that really interests me, and I think maybe I may interest some folks out there too. Just to have another residency, another country you can go to, and not have to worry about leaving after a month or a couple of months because you don't want to overstay your visa. So like I said, I was never really considered Mexico, but because of the easiness of what's available to get that residency and working towards citizenship, that is now an option on the table for me, because also I want to be close. I want to have the airplane, the flight connections to be able to come back quickly to the U.S. and also to the Caribbean as well. Another country I'm looking at, I've been looking at, is Brazil. Brazil is developed. Brazil has a lot to offer. One other thing that I'm not only looking, I think I pointed out the cost of living. I wanted to be cheap. I wanted to be a stable government, stable economy, and safety. I wanted a country that's relatively safe. I know that you're never 100% safe, right? But relatively safety, right? Where I don't, not that I want to, I'll leave the door of my house unlocked, and I wouldn't do that. But just relatively safety, I don't want to move to a country with such high numbers of robbery and murder. You know what I'm saying? So safety, that's definitely an issue. Another country I've been looking at is Brazil. Brazil has a lot to offer. It's a huge country, largest country in Latin America, largest economy in Latin America. It is has a lot to offer, diversity, opportunities to make money, cheap cost of living, some good flight connections. I want to be in this time zone. I want to be relatively close to the Eastern time zone, right? That's one of my other factors. I don't want to be 8 hours ahead or 15 hours behind or 15 hours ahead. I don't want that, just simply because of my lifestyle and to be able to maintain that contact. I have a daughter. Talk to her every day. I want to make sure that I'm at least in the same time zone or close to it. So Brazil is the other one. And I was looking at places in Brazil. I definitely wouldn't live in Rio. That wouldn't happen. Even though Rio is a cool place to visit, I wouldn't live there. One place I was looking at is that'd be decent outside of Sao Paulo. Is Florianopolis. Man, Florianopolis seems like a really, really dope city and dope area. In my next trip to Brazil, I really like to visit Brazil and check that out to see what it's like. I follow a couple of YouTubers that have gone there and watched the videos. I'm amazed by Florianopolis. It seems a place where you can actually have fun, but at the same time, it seems like a place where it's really tranquilo. I like tranquilidad. I like peace. I'm not the type of person that I go to a place because I want to go out and party and do that every day. Nah, I like tranquilidad. I like, boring is cool with me. Boring is cool with me. It's okay to be boring. So I'm definitely looking at Brazil. Another place I'm looking at. Oh, before I go to the second place, go back to Mexico. The areas of Mexico I've been looking at are not that. I wouldn't say the areas that a lot of people are moving to from the U.S. and Canada. A lot of people are going to Mexico. They're going to Mexico City. Nah, I'm not going to Mexico City. I go to visit every once in a while, but I wouldn't go there. I've been there. Trust me, Mexico City is dope, but I would want to live in a place much more tranquilo. A lot of people are moving to Allende, which is like sort of like a mountain town, which is maybe a few hours north of Mexico City. A lot of folks are going to like Puerto Vallarta and Los Cabos. Now I'm good. I want to be, if I go to Mexico, I want to be on the Yucatan. So for me, the Yucatan is the only place I would move to in Mexico. So that's what I'm looking at in Mexico. Other country, Portugal. Yeah, I'm looking at Portugal. I've never been in the group of people that really wanted to move to Europe. Visit, but not move. But as I've just been looking at Portugal, what Portugal has been doing in recent years to get people to move out there, the cost of living is cheaper, but it's not as cheap as it is in like Brazil or like Colombia or something like that. But it's cheaper, a much cheaper scale than the rest of Europe. It's relatively safe there. I mean, stable government, stable economy. It just checks all the boxes that, more stable than Brazil. But it checks all the boxes, and it seems like a dope spot to be. Tranquilidad. Now, like Brazil, I'm not fluent in Portuguese. Because I'm fluent in Spanish, I can definitely work my way to becoming fluent in Portuguese. I've taken a Portuguese class before, so I can work with that. but they make it really easy for you to get a residency and to work towards getting a citizenship there. And a Mexican passport is dope. Brazilian passport is dope as well. Yes, a Brazilian passport is good. It's a strong passport, as well as Portugal. So where would I go? I'll probably, if I go to Portugal, I would likely go to the south, like southern Portugal. Southern Portugal, I know they say, well, that's where everybody goes. Everyone goes to either Lisbon or Porto, or they'll go to southern Portugal. Yeah, I go to southern Portugal. I mean, that's what the beach is. What up, X Strolling? What's going on, man? Hey, man, I talked about a whole bunch of things, but right now I'm talking about places that I've been looking up that I'm considering moving to, either in 2024 or beyond. So yeah, Portugal, Portugal, southern Portugal was the area that I'd be considering if I was to move to Portugal. So outside of Mexico, Brazil, Portugal, the other country I'd consider, which is probably not on the radar, not on anyone's radar, is Uruguay. Uruguay. Where's Uruguay? Why Uruguay? Man, look at here. Uruguay is the most stable government, stable economy. It's small, so a lot of things that goes on in the exterior of Uruguay is not going to affect Uruguay. Uruguay has a strong passport. They make it easy for people to become a resident in Uruguay. Uruguay is just to the south of Brazil, and is only a few hours away from Florianopolis. Yes, Uruguay. And Uruguay is still cheap, and they speak Spanish, so I don't have to learn a new language. Uruguay. And Uruguay is more tranquilo. It's still beautiful. It's still cheap. Montevideo, from Montevideo, you can easily get to anywhere in South America, Central America, North America, close to Buenos Aires. I wouldn't want to live in Argentina, but it'd be cool to visit, so I can get there. It's right across the bay from Buenos Aires. Uruguay, man. Uruguay is where it's at. Yes, Uruguay. Why Uruguay? For all those reasons, it's safe as well. It is noted as the safest country in Latin America. Uruguay. So stability, safety, cheap, strong. They have an avenue to get a residency. Apparently is fairly easy, and a path to citizenship. Uruguay. Yeah, Uruguay is a much more stable economy than Argentina. Look, man. People are trying to push Argentina hey, move to Argentina. It's big, has a lot going on, easy to get a residency, path to citizenship. Yeah, but Argentina is very, very, very unstable. Economy very unstable. It's like the Zimbabwe of Latin America. It's unstable, very unstable. And you would say they got a rich culture, a lot going on. It just has too many issues. And also, even if I were to become, and Argentina does have a strong passport, but even if I were to become an Argentina citizen, so you say, you cannot denounce Argentina citizenship. And Argentina is like the US. They will tax you no matter where you go in the world. No matter where you go. You cannot escape Argentina. And Argentina, just like the US, they would come and find you. So no, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have that headache. I want to go to a place tranquilo. And tú sabes tú sabes cuál país es muy tranquilo. You know what country is very tranquilo? Uruguay. Uruguay is muy tranquilo. I mean, you never hear about issues with Uruguay. One thing is small. You're talking about 1 million people, about 3 million people in the country, and the big city is Montevideo, but it's not the same level of big city as you would compare to Sao Paulo, Rio, Bogota, Lima, Buenos Aires. It's not that big, but it's still big. So there you have it, Uruguay. Where would I go in Uruguay? Uruguay doesn't really have a lot of places. So if I'm not in the main city in Montevideo, I'll probably be over there in Punta del Este, which is like I guess you could say that's more like the what Florianopolis is to Brazil is what Punta del Este is to Uruguay. Yeah. Yeah. Argentina has a strong inflation issue, man. Yeah, just like I said, it's the Zimbabwe of Latin America. It just has too many issues. No, I go to visit, but that's it. Yeah, the only problem is you are stuck travel-wise. You know what, Extra, I'm glad you made that point. Montevideo is connected in Latin America. And it's connected to like, Miami, Houston, cities like that, New York. But outside of that, yeah, you're not widely connected from Montevideo to the US. I'm okay with that. One of the things I do like about Latin America is that Copa Airlines from Panama is connected to every country in the Caribbean, almost every country in the Caribbean, and definitely every country in Latin America. Like as far as Central and South America, every country, and almost every country in the Caribbean as well. Copa Airlines from Panama. So basically, anywhere I need to get into the States, I can get there with Copa. So from Montevideo, it'll only be one layover. Anywhere I'm at in Latin America, it'd be one layover. And also, to get to where I'm going to in the Caribbean, yeah, I may have to do 2 layovers, but whatever. I mean the travel connection. I mean, yeah. The time, it's further away, so that's the downside. That's the downside, right? That's the pros of when I'm thinking about Brazil, when I'm thinking about Uruguay, when I'm thinking about Portugal. The downside is that time it takes to travel. I don't like that. I like the time that I have from DR where I'm going to when I'm going to the U.S. or I'm going to other parts of the country of the region, I get there quickly. But from Brazil, from Uruguay, from Portugal, it ain't gonna be quick. But I still be relatively quick if I live in a Yucatan and say I live in like the Cancun area or Playa del Carmen, Tulum, somewhere in that region. I can still take the Cancun airport, and Cancun airport is the second largest airport in Mexico, and they got connections like essentially everywhere. So I still be good as far as that goes. I sort of like Cancun is sort of like what Punta Cana is to DR. That's what Cancun is to Mexico. So the connections are good, and it's quick too. That 8-hour plus flight to get anywhere is crazy. It's the best option though if you are trying to get away from other Americans. True. If you're trying to really get away from other Americans and Westerners, yes. If you go to Uruguay, you'll get away from all of them. And Portugal, though, man, I mean, it's still European. And Portugal, man, it's just that they're flooded with foreigners from like whether other places in Europe or but they're more so flooded with foreigners who are non-EU citizens, like North Americans, Australians, Chinese. They're flooded with foreigners there in Portugal. So I don't want to be amongst that, especially if I go to Portugal. I'd only be in the south. But and also Portugal would be like a 4-5 hour time difference. I don't want that, but that's better than 8 hours or 15 hours if I was in someplace else. Yeah, labor would be in Panama though. Yeah, Copa. See, me, I exclusively travel with United, and United is part of Star Alliance, and Copa is also part of Star Alliance. So I can still maintain getting my miles and maintaining my gold membership by flying with them. So yeah, that'd be dope too. Yeah, but I mean, I've been to Brazil, man. I've been to Rio. From Panama to Rio is 7 hours, and maybe only 2 hours between DR or Miami to get to Panama, but it's 7 hours from Panama to Rio. That's long, and it'd be the same if I were going to Uruguay. Portugal is quite popular with American expats due to the relaxed residency visa. Hey, excuse me, man, with it's windy out here and it's raining. So due to the relaxed residency visa when compared to other European countries, yeah, because they want the money. Where other parts of Europe, they don't really want the money, and the cost of living is much more expensive, right? And it become popular, man. That's why like Portugal is. If I had a list of like 5 countries, Portugal would be last. I mean, no doubt about it. Portugal would be last. But I would consider Portugal for that reason because it is welcoming and they make it easy for foreigners to move there. And I follow people that live in Portugal, and though it has its issues, man, it seems like a really nice spot that'll fit what I'm looking for. Like I was saying, extra, and if you haven't saw what I was doing before, a lot of I don't see any black travelers talking about within this travel sector, talking about not opening up businesses, establishing residencies, getting second, third, and fourth passports when they're traveling. Because they got this thing called paper residency, a paper residency where I can go to a country, get a residency there, and not have any requirements to be in that country to maintain that residency and work towards a citizenship, so I can have that residency in that country, and I could be living someplace else. And then when my 5 years is up or my 3 years is up, I can go to that country, apply for citizenship, and have another passport. And talk about that. People don't talk about that. They don't talk about the benefits you can have with that as well. Yeah, Western Europe is not the best option if you are trying to cut your cost of living. However, appealing part is the ability to travel through the EU and no issues. True. That is very true. But here's the thing. As Americans, we can travel through the EU without any issues. If you don't want to use your US passport, if you had a passport with Mexico, if you had a passport with Uruguay, if you had a passport with Argentina or Brazil or Peru or Panama, you can travel through Europe easily without any issues as if you were American or Canadian or Australian. So I think that we need to keep that in mind too, where if the cost of living is cheap in Peru and we can open up a business in Peru, we can make some money in Peru, and because I can be a resident. As a resident, it'll open up opportunities. As a citizen, it'll open up more opportunities. I can take advantage of the economy and make some money, have some sort of roots there, but I could be living in Panama, or I could be living in Brazil and doing the same thing there. So I think that those are some things that we need to have an open mind about as we're traveling. We can travel for gusto. We can travel just to experience another country. But I think that we should be looking at opportunities. We should be looking at, okay, if I were to open a business here, establish a residency here, maybe possibly get a citizenship here, could I do that? What's the process? You know, that's all, man. Yeah, and also some of us, man, we don't plan on moving back to the U.S. at all because the cost of living is just so high. But if you're not in the U.S., where's your home going to be? And with that second home, you should have a second passport. I'm just saying, man. Yeah, you are limited to a 90-day stay, though. With the Portuguese residency, you don't have that issue. Another good country to stay in long term is France, if you can get past the notorious French. Yeah, true, you could. But France, you gotta learn French, man. At least the Portuguese, you can speak English. They're not as funky as the French are with speaking English. Like the French don't like speaking English, man. And the French are not very nice, generally speaking. Generally speaking. In most cases, on half the cases, whatever you want to say. The French are not nice people, man. They're not. French people are snobby. Yeah, just my experience. Not nice people. Bureaucracy. Yeah. But that's why folks are choosing Portugal. They get that to work towards that, have that residency and work towards getting that Portuguese passport. That Portuguese passport is strong, man. It's strong. But do not sleep on that Mexican passport. Do not sleep on that Brazilian passport. Hell, with that Mexican passport, you can travel to countries that you can't travel to as an American. In addition, you can still travel to places like New Zealand, places like Canada, the UK, Ireland. Have that Mexican passport. The only country you can't go to are like maybe some countries a few countries in Africa that don't allow anyone to go to without a visa. A few countries in Asia that don't allow, like China, they don't allow anyone to go to without a visa. The US and I think Australia. That's it. But you can go to Canada. You can go to all of Europe. Go to New Zealand. Those are sort of like the countries where like people with passports you can like determine like how strong that passport is if you can go to Canada, New Zealand, all of Europe, not just the EU, all of Europe, Mexico. If you can go to Mexico, you gotta have a strong passport. A lot of countries won't allow Mexico. Believe it or not, Mexico has a strong economy, a strong passport, and they do not want folks coming there. I guess flooding the immigration system. I should say that. Yeah, Mexico. And I was reading an article recently that Mexico is very Americanized, and in much cases, and the most Americanized city in Mexico is Monterrey, which is only a quick step from Texas. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, those are the countries I'm considering, man. Mexico, Brazil, Portugal, and Uruguay. So at this stage, I'm considering those countries, and that's because all the things are laid out. But extrolling, man. When do you plan on moving out here to Santo Domingo, man? So I know Santo Domingo's on your radar. You already in that transition stage. So when do you plan on being out here full time? Also, Are you going through the residency portion, or you plan on doing that portion once you get here? Getting a second passport residency. Getting a second passport is one of the Mercosur countries. Argentina opens up. Yes, yes, and not just Mercosur, not just those countries you have laid out, man. And also having a residency. No. Having a passport in a Latin American country makes it easier to get another passport and residency in another Latin American country, right? So, for example, if you got a residency if you got a passport, a Dominican passport, you'll be quicker to get a Uruguayan passport or Colombian passport than someone coming from the U.S. or someone coming from England, for example. It just opens up doors, man. You're right, man. And just like Portugal, in Portugal, you can move around the EU. And with Mercosur, if you are, got a residency with Uruguay, you can move around Uruguay with South America without any issues. The only countries in South America that are not part of that is Guyana and Suriname, and the French territory of French Guyana. But apart from that, man, you can move around, and yeah, you can work in other countries. I mean, it's really dope. It's really dope. It's dope. The only thing is the time. Even though you'll be in the same time zone relatively, I think Uruguay is maybe an hour. It's the same time zone as Rios, which is like either 1 hour or 2 hours ahead, depending on the time of the year of the Eastern time zone. But it's still worth it. It's still worth it. You just got to get used to that time, that travel time. That's all. Yeah, I plan on moving there during the low season, aka summer. I'll be coming with the residency visa via Rentista. Good, man. Excellent, man. Congratulations, man. Do it, man. Do it, and work towards getting that Dominican passport. Is the Dominican passport strong? It's not very strong, but I would say this. I think I was saying this earlier in this live. DR is becoming a more stable country. The government is becoming more stable. The economy is becoming more stable. With stability means that more countries will allow the citizens of DR to go to that country without visa or visa on arrival. That's how it works. And yeah, they lobby with those other countries too. Like, hey, let's let my people come to your country, without a visa. Yeah, sure. And we gotta let ours. Some of the countries like, if you don't let ours, we won't let yours, right? That's how Brazil used to be like that in the past, but not anymore. But South Africa is like that, becoming more like that now. So yeah, that happens. And that's what happens. But in DR, I would tell you this. I am certain that within the next year, 2 years, the Dominican Republic's passport will be stronger. And I believe that it will have visa-free travel. At some point, have visa-free travel to most European countries. Yep, I believe that. Just like Panama, just like Peru, just like Colombia, just like Brazil, just like Uruguay, Argentina, Chile. Chile's passport is stronger than the U.S. passport. Yep. Chile's passport is stronger than the U.S. passport. It's stronger than the Australian passport. Chile's passport is strong. Yeah, I went back and forth between Peru and DR. It was a tough choice. Peru opens up the door getting a passport from a Mercosur country, so it was a struggle to not pick Peru. Man, I'm biased. I'm biased to Peru because I used to live in Peru. So I'm biased on the side where I would not live in Peru. I used to live there, but I'm biased because I used to live there. And not only that I used to live there in a pueblo. Like, it's cool. So Peru, the people are nice, man. I'm not gonna front. Peruvian people are nice, man. They're good people, man. They're good people. It's just that Peru is just not my flavor. Not my flavor. Like I wouldn't want to move to Bolivia. Bolivia is not my flavor. I even said Mexico was not my flavor. But if I were to move to Mexico, it would probably be it'd have to be the Yucatan, just because Cancun, what Cancun offers with the flight connections. I like the Caribbean. I like the fact that I can be in other places, quickly. It's also Cancun's in the Eastern time zone. So it'd be in that relatively in the Yucatan, whether it's a Merida, Playa del Carmen, somewhere over there. But yeah, Peru was dope because Peru is probably one of the quickest countries that will allow you to get a passport, Peruvian passport. You can get a Peruvian passport within 2 years of the residency. So Peru is actually one of the best options. One of the best options. And their passport is pretty strong. I mean, it's much stronger than the Dominican passport. Dominican passport is amongst the weakest. It's amongst the weakest in the region. But I will declare that within a year, 2, maybe even 3, that Dominican passport will be stronger and will have visa-free access to most countries and Europe. But I believe one of the factors in that is not just because the Dominican government and the Dominican economy is becoming more stable. They will need to increase the earnings of the average Dominican. And I think once they do that, and once that is I feel like once they do that and the effects that will have within the Dominican economy, that will allow most countries in Europe to open up and allow that visa-free travel with a Dominican passport. The only countries in Europe Dominicans can travel to visa-free or visa on arrival is Turkey, Ukraine, and a few Eastern Europe countries like Kosovo, Serbia, stuff like that. Yep, but that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm considering, those 4 countries, and I will probably make a decision sometime next year on which country specifically, and I'll start the process and actually making that happen. Yeah, after 2 years of residency in Peru, you can apply for citizenship. Yeah, man. And you might want to consider Peru, if Peru was a good country to have, if they'll allow you to have a paper residency. Paper residency. You get a residency in Peru, but I don't know the requirements for Peru, but Peru may not require you to be there every day. Or they may not require you to be there 6 months out of the year, as a lot of countries do. They may only require you to be there 30 days out of the year, or 1 day out of the year, right? And you do that, you can spend a month in Peru out of the year, just get an Airbnb for a month, spend a month there, establish ties, like open a bank, stuff like that. Yeah. And then after 2 years, apply for citizenship. Theoretically, you can do that in some of these countries. I don't know Peru specifically, but some of these countries you can do that. I believe Colombia is one of those countries. So yeah, after 2 years of residency in Peru, you can apply for citizenship. That made it appealing for me. After that, you can move elsewhere, like Colombia with Brazil. Yeah. And that's why it's really dope to be a citizen of one of those South American countries. That's why it's really dope, man. I've heard good things about Merida, Mexico. It's a spot for families, though, not for a single young man. Yeah, man. And I'm not a single young man. I got a wife, so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for boring. I'm looking for tranquilidad. I don't want the party every day, man. I'm looking for tranquilidad. So, and Merida seemed like a dope place for that. A lot of people move there, and I think that if I go there, I'll be on the Yucatan, and that'd be a good spot for to live. Peru requirement is 6 months out of the year. Yeah, you get a temporary residency the first 2 years, so it's tied to a 6-month requirement. Yeah. Okay. So you can't off the bat get a permanent residency. So I know that's the difference in a lot of countries. Even the permanent residency, you often have to stay 6 months. But some countries with the permanent residency, you don't have that requirement. So if it's possible to get a permanent residency with Peru, probably not. I think you got to start off with a temporary residency. Then you got to make that 6-month requirement. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. DR, I don't think you have a requirement. I think DR could be used as a paper residency. So there may be a case where you can do the opposite, right? You can get your residency in DR and use the DR residency as your paper residency and spend your time in Peru. So, and go back and forth between the two. And there's at least one airline that goes between Lima and Santo Domingo, and that is Arajet. 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 New Dominican airline, direct flights from Santo Domingo to Lima, as well as other areas in Latin America, so that you can take advantage of that and go back and forth between the two countries. Yeah, I don't think DR has that residency requirement. I really don't. Don't quote me, do your research, but I really don't, because no one has mentioned that, and everything I've read about this, no, it doesn't say that you have that requirement, because most countries will flat out say, hey, this is the requirement. You got to stay in the country for so much time during that while you have that residency in order to be eligible for citizenship or to maintain that residency. So DR could be a paper residency, man. I'm just saying, brother. I'm just saying, you may be in a position to do both at the same time. I'll put it out there. My next move, wherever I go, believe me, if I go to Uruguay, if I go to Brazil, if I go to Portugal, if I go to Mexico, I will have another residency with another country as a paper residency. Which country? I haven't determined that yet, but I will have a paper residency while I'm staying in one of those countries, so that, I'm opening up options. And some people may ask, What's the point of all that? Look, man, you always want to have a plan B and plan C. I do not ever plan on living in the U.S. again, ever. Staying a significant amount of time, yeah, I can stay, a month without traveling. I can stay a month, right? But live, no. So with that said, if I'm not in DR, I will be someplace else, and I want to have options. I want to have variety. I want to have opportunities. If I want to open up a business, if I want to make this move, I don't want to have that limitation of I am not a resident or I am not a citizen, so I can't do that. Look, extra, and a lot of folks here who watch these YouTubers that live in DR or Brazil, they come across that. How many times you have you been to Brazil, extra? Have you been to Brazil, extra? Let me know if you've been to Brazil. Because you go to Brazil, I can't even rent a scooter. I can't even order food through the equivalent of Uber Eats over there, because you need to have a CPF number, which is basically a social security number, which is what you get if you were a resident. I don't want those limitations. If I go to a country, I see an opportunity, I want to do something, I want to be able to do it, and that's it, and I'm going to do it. So why not, if I'm in a position to be eligible for a residency in a number of countries, many countries across the world, I'm going to take advantage of it. Why not? Plan B, options. I ain't moving back to the States. Yeah, I'm a U.S. citizen, so I'm always going to be paying state taxes to the day I die. Yeah, I say state taxes, federal income tax, not state taxes, federal income tax. Yeah, I will, but that's just what you got to do, right? But that doesn't mean I got to live there. But I want to have a plan. I don't want to be tied to DR as well. If something happens in DR, or if I don't like the way things are going in DR, even though I have ties there, I want to be able to go to another country where I can open up opportunities and live and, etc. So you should do that. You should do it. I highly recommend it. Yeah. And look, man, in Brazil, you can't do anything, man, without a CPF number. So don't let fools lie to you in those videos about Brazil and where this and that. Yes, Brazil's a dope country, don't get me wrong, but you can't go too far in Brazil without a CPF number, which is basically a social security number. You can't. They are over the top with that. And DR, how many times in DR you've been turned away from doing something because you don't have a cellular? Oh, I want to get this satellite service for my house through Starlink, which is like the new Elon Musk thing, Starlink. They got it here in DR. Or you got to have a cellular. Can't get it because you don't have a cellular. Or I want to get this service. You got to have a cellular. If you don't have a cellular, if you're not a resident, you don't have a cellular. You know what I'm saying? So there's stuff like that. You got to be asking people if you can borrow their cellular number and all this stuff. Look, man, I don't want to have those limitations if I'm staying in a country for a significant amount of time. I'm a peaceful person. I like things to be easy. I like things to be I want to enjoy myself, man. And I don't want to be stressed out or bothered by these limitations because I didn't do the due diligence in this country to actually better prepare myself to be in that country by just going, hey, man, I'm eligible for it. Why not apply for it? I do it. I become a resident of that country. Now I can go in and out of that country whenever I want. And if I want to establish roots, I can establish roots without any issues. And you have a lot of people here in DR, man, that are here in DR. They are long-term tourists. They are long-term tourists here in DR, and do not let them lie to you, man. That comes with limitations. Don't let them lie to you. But sometimes those limitations are doable. Yeah, I'm good with not having such and such things here. But look, man, I don't like limitations. I like to have my plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. And I would recommend that you all who like to travel and spend time in other countries do the same thing, man. Do the same thing. Yeah, yeah, true that. Options matter. Yeah, man, options matter, man. People tend to look at, outside the US as an option, but I'm going further beyond that. I'm looking at have many options outside the US. Have many options outside the US, right? If as a first step, is DR a good step? Yes, it is. I strongly believe DR is a good step. Maybe Mexico was a great first step outside of the U.S. Portugal, a great first step outside of the U.S. But expand beyond that. Expand beyond that. I know a lot of folks who are older. I would say maybe like retirement age. I ain't talking about my age, right? No, I'm still working. But retirement age, like late 50s, 60s, 70s. They probably don't want to be moving around much. So for those folks, I get that they probably want to be established roots in one country outside the US, and that's their country, and that's it. That I understand. But look, man, if you are young, you still want to travel and you still want to travel extensively, if you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and you still want to travel extensively, man, yo, options. Go ahead and start planning how you can go ahead and do that. A lot of these countries, not just in Latin America, but in Asia, especially Southeast Asia and Europe. And there are some countries in Africa that are moving towards this as well. South Africa is one of them. Cape Verde is also another one. They are trying to get folks in to move to those countries. They want you to go to those countries. So let me say this. If you live in a country like the United States and you are burdened by taxes and cost of living and this and that, and you got all these countries around the world that want you, yes, they want you to move to their country. They want you. So they established this program that you can work and live and work towards citizenship in their country because they want you. Imagine that. Imagine that, man. Imagine you have dozens, if not, I don't want to say 100, but it could be, well, it'd be 100, yeah, countries out there that want you to move to their country because they want what you can. Yeah, you got money, you got a job, right? You got money, you got you can take care of yourself, and you can contribute to the society. You can contribute to their economy. They want you. That's dope, right? You got countries out here that are looking for you. So take advantage of that, man. Like go out there and choose. Choose. Look at all these countries that want me to move there because I am from this country, because I'm American, I'm Canadian, right? So that means I likely got an education. I got money so I can take care of myself. Or I have a pension, or I'm retired. And I can contribute culturally. I can contribute economically. I can contribute socially. I can contribute to society. They want you. And you should take pride in that. You should take pride in that. And take advantage of that. That they want you to rule their country. Right? I mean, that's my opinion. But maybe some people don't see the way I see it. Yes, sir. With that remote job and USD, we have value. Exactly. Thank you, X Strolling. Thank you. We have value. And they want us to move to their country. Now, people will talk about, look, man, I know we come from the U.S. We black. We come from the U.S. we know what racism and all this stuff and the stuff that comes along with that. I got it, man. But a lot of these countries, man, don't care. Don't care if you're black. As a matter of fact, they want you because you are such an anomaly to their country. You can contribute. You can probably contribute to their country even more, right? So they want you. You have value. They want you. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of that. And they're not asking you to be rich. They're asking you, can you take care of yourself at our standards? And the what should I say? I guess the level of income they look for is normally 3 times the amount of the minimum wage. 3 times the amount of the minimum wage. So you got countries out here like for example, Portugal, $800. If you earn at least $800 a month, Portugal will give you a residency. Portugal, $800 a month. Now you know you ain't getting much for $800, but that's what Portugal's at. They say, look, man, we want you. You make this, you can get in the door. You got countries like Ecuador. I think Ecuador is 1,000. Then you got countries like DR, Brazil, 1,500. Uruguay, 1,500. I think Argentina is 2,000. Peru can't be no more than 1,500. I think maybe Costa Rica is a little more. Costa Rica maybe about 2,000. I know Mexico is steep, but Mexico, you gotta understand, Mexico is steep because of its relationship with the United States, and because that's always the first place that people in Canada and the United States move to was Mexico when moving abroad. And Mexico is doing pretty well, economically speaking. So Mexico, they you got to earn like, I think it's like $3,000 a month. But that's just to get in the door. But you ain't spending $3,000 a month. You are not likely to spend $3,000 a month in the majority of the towns and cities in Mexico. Maybe in Mexico City, but outside of that, you're not looking to spend that. So I'm saying all this because I want you all to see the value that you have and the options that you have, the many options that you have to move abroad, if that's what you want. If you are just in the camp that just want to live abroad, I mean, not live, travel abroad. If you just want to travel abroad, cool, travel, but travel with a plan. Travel with the notion that I'm traveling, but I'm traveling knowing that if I come to a place and I see something I like, or I see something I can take advantage of, I have the means to do so. That's all I'm saying. Thanks, brother. Thanks, sir. Look, man, I ain't trying to preach, man. I really ain't. I just want folks to exercise their options, to know their value. Because sometimes, let's be honest, man, in the US, sometimes we feel like shit, man. Like some of us get treated like shit in our jobs or in society, or because we're poor, or because we're barely getting by, or we're struggling to get ahead, or by the men that we're with, or by the men that we're with, or the family members. Sometimes we get treated like shit, and we don't see the value that we have. But look, man, you look abroad, and these countries that want you to move to their country because you have value. You have value. You have value because you can take care of yourself. You have value because you have the interest of moving abroad. You have value because There's a lot that you can contribute based on who you are. There's a lot that you can contribute to that society. I know some people may feel like, well, I don't want to move to Mexico because there's not a lot of black people in Mexico. And there's a lot of black people in Mexico, but you should not let that limit you and your potential because of that. Or people say, well, I don't want to move to Brazil because they speak Portuguese and Portuguese is difficult to learn. Man, you move to a country, especially a country that speaks a European language, like a Western European language, you can learn it, man. You can pick it up. You can pick it up. It ain't Chinese. And even then, you can learn Chinese if you can learn Chinese. It's doable. But you can learn Portugal. You can learn Portuguese. So don't let the language keep you from making that move. Hold on, I got. So I got a message. So just recognize the value that you have and the value that you have and that you can contribute to many countries. You may feel like there's not much that you can contribute to the US. But and you may feel that pressure that there's not much you can contribute to the US, not much you can do in the US. It's like there's no upside. But in other countries, man, not all, but in many other countries that want you, it's straight up. The upside is straight up. All you got to do is look for the information, find it, and act on it. Create a plan and act on it. There it is. You have some countries out there that will actually pay for your moving expenses to move to that country. Yeah, that's part of their residency program. They will pay for you to move in that country. They will pay for you to move to that country. I don't know what country that is, but they will pay for you to move to that country. But yeah, that is. So that's it. That's pretty much all I really wanted to hit on. I talked about quite a bit about the high cost of living in the DR and where that's connected to crime, and then talked about exercise your options and moving abroad. You know, consider getting a residency in one country or multiple countries to exercise your options abroad. If you know that you're not going to be living in the U.S., and maybe you don't want to commit to one country abroad, hey, have a group of countries that you will have in your back pocket where you can actually move to and live in when you feel free. You can live in the U.S. for, I say you want to maintain that ties in the U.S. with your family. You could spend a couple of weeks out of the year in the U.S., spend 4 months in Brazil, 4 months in Mexico, 4 months in Portugal. You know what they call a trifecta, right? You can spread it out, right? You can have a residency in many countries and do 4 months here or 4 months there, or have a residency in 2 countries where that require at least 6 months, 6 months there, 6 months here. You can do that, right? Exercise your options, baby. That's all I'm telling you. That's all I'm telling you. Yes, sir. I will go for the DR residency citizenship, then head to Peru. I got to get that Mercosur passport. Yeah, man. And look, man, that's one of the reasons why I am considering probably more so Uruguay and Brazil than Portugal and Mexico for that reason. For that reason, that Mercosur reason. But like you said it before, X-Troller, man, that travel time, man. But once you're there, you're there. But that travel time is a beast. I'll probably be in DR 3 to 4 years, then head to Peru, spend 3 years in Peru and get that passport. Yes, man. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. That's a good plan, man. That's a good plan. That's a good plan. Or you can do like I mentioned, you know, you can get that residency in DR and then head to Peru. You know, get that residency in DR, head to Peru, get that residency in Peru, and then go from there. And then spend your time in Peru, and then come to find out you'll be up for that Peruvian passport around the same time you'll be up for that Dominican passport. And you got 2 passports, 2 options. And then you got access to Mercosur, which is the entire South America, plus you got a Dominican passport as a backup. Boom, there you go. There you go, man. There you go. I think another thing that we got to keep in mind too is the world is changing. When I say the world is changing, is the countries that we've always seen to be more stable and have much more power and influence in the world have less and less influence now. Now, with that said, is we need to keep that in mind and consider that, hey, we should probably look at other countries for a living and as a backup plan. No one really expected that war to break out between Ukraine and Russia. No one expected Russia to go full out invade Ukraine and go to war. No one expected that. To be honest, I was planning a trip to go to Ukraine. I was planning a trip to go to Ukraine before all this mess happened. So, and then I ended up going to Brazil, right? So keep that in mind that no one knows what happens, but it's usually the bigger countries that get involved with that. There's usually the bigger countries that get involved with the wars and the conflicts, and the smaller countries like Uruguay, for example, conflict with what? Conflict with what? Right? You're not going to have that conflict with Uruguay. So I'm saying all that just to have you all keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you're considering moving abroad. Because people say, well, look, in Uruguay, ain't nothing going on in Uruguay. There's not much going on in Portugal. You know what? They're small countries. And you are right. There is not much going on in those countries. But I tell you this, they're not in the midst of war. They're not in the midst of conflict. You're not gonna hear stories of Uruguay invaded Brazil, or Uruguay there was a shootout between Uruguayan border guards and Argentinian border guards. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So, yeah, keep that in mind when you're considering moving to another country. Yeah. and that's why I said that, because you potentially you can use your Dominican residency as a paper residency and get that residency in Peru and actually live in Peru to spend your time in Peru and work towards getting that Peruvian citizenship. Honestly, I think that's a better option for your situation. Me, I'm already here in DR. I mean, I'm married. I got my place here. In the process of buying real estate here. So this is going to be my home base, right? Outside of the U.S., this is going to be my home base. But I am going to have other options. Simple as that. I got to do it that way. Get the two at the same time. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, man. You should do it that way. Just know that when you come to DR on that residency visa, and you come to DR, it may take some time for you to complete the residency process. You know, it may take a month, may take 2 months to do it. It's still fairly quickly, but it may take a little more than. I've heard people say, yeah, and you could come here and do it in a week. I'm not going to say that's not possible, but I know Dominicans. I know how they work. It's going to be some back and forth. I will at least give yourself 2 months, at least 2 months, if not 3, to do the residency process, to finish the residency process here. And then once your residency card is up, like made available, you come back and pick it up. Or you stay here until you pick it up, and then you bounce. So you can do that. So DR can be a paper residency, and then you can live in Peru. And while you're in the U.S., you can probably go ahead and go through the process of doing your Peruvian residency. Yeah. Yeah, man, I do it that way. But where would you live in Peru? Tell me that. I'm sure you've done a lot of well, where would you live in Peru? Because in Peru, man, Lima has some dope areas. Like Miraflores would be doable. Maybe Chorrillos or Barranco, San Borja, La Molina. Whatever, you know, some of those areas I probably would do in Lima, but outside of that, nah, man. Nah, I'd have to be in Lima, but I hate Lima. Lima is too busy. It's too big and too busy. So outside of those like 5 areas, I probably wouldn't live there. And that's my taste. That's my taste from when I was, 23 years old. Now I'm 37. My tastes have changed. I'm much more like tranquilo. I'm much more bougie now. I gotta have I'll probably only be able to stay in like maybe like 5 areas of Lima, and that's it. Miraflores and Barranco are overpriced and too touristy. Yes, they are touristy. That is correct. That's why outside of those areas, you might also want to consider La Molina, San Borja. I think it's called San Borja. Chorrillos, which is right on the other side of Barranco. That may be a dope area too. What is a place adjacent to Miraflores? At the other side of Miraflores? Surco. No, that's La Molina, Surco. So Surco's also be a dope area as well. It depends on your flavor, man. Depends on your flavor. But I at this stage of my life, man, I couldn't live outside of Lima in Peru. I couldn't do it. It's just that it's the amenities are limited and it's very slow. Peru is slow, man, and it's okay to be slow, but I think that because Peru is not a country that's well connected. You know, you have like Colombia, for example. Colombia is well connected with the rest of the world. Bogota is connected with the rest of the world. Medellin, Cartagena, Cali, those cities, Barranquilla, those cities are well connected with the rest of the world, right? In Peru is essentially like one city in, one city out. Peru is a big ass country, but it's like anchored by Lima, and that's it. There's no other cities. There are other cities, but they're like they're disconnected from the rest of the world. I don't like that. And then it takes too long to get from one part of the country to the other. So it's like, nah, man, just Peru is just that, man. It's just it wouldn't work. Colombia would work. I could consider Colombia in the future, but if I am doing Uruguay or Brazil, I don't think that's necessary if I already have that citizenship. Hola, ¿cómo está? Let's see. Checking on something. Hey, would you live outside of Lima? Would you live in like Trujillo or Piura or Chiclayo, Arequipa? Would you live outside of Lima? I wouldn't be able to see myself doing that. Yeah, but extra. What other countries have you considered? Have you considered? I know you said DR is basically what you're doing in Peru eventually. Have you considered any other country? Yeah, it would have to be Lima. I agree. It would have to be Lima, man. It would have to be Lima. Peru is just too disconnected. It's too disconnected, man. Too disconnected. Any other countries outside of Peru that you have considered? I'll say this: a lot of Southeast Asia and Africa historically have been closed off from foreigners establishing residency and an opportunity to get a passport. But you see that opening up in some countries. Now, for example, I know a lot of folks go out there to Thailand, or in the Philippines, but I believe in those countries you cannot get a residency and get it. No, you cannot buy real estate if you are not a citizen or resident, one of those two. But you can't buy real estate. Real estate is prohibited from foreigners, and I get that. Again, goes into that's why you want to get a residency, work towards citizenship. That way you can remove those limitations. When I first started, I was looking at Colombia and Argentina. So why not Colombia, man? Why not Colombia? Why not Colombia? I want to know. Why not Colombia? Argentina because of the blue dollar. I wanted to take advantage of that dollar. Colombia because of the low cost of living. I had Argentina because of the long flights. Yeah, Argentina is far, man. It's far, which is the same issue with Brazil and Uruguay. For me, Colombia is still on the table, man. Colombia is another country I'm considering. I just think that the I think the citizenship process will be a little more challenging because I think that'll be a little more challenging. But Colombia is also another option for me, but it's low. It's low on that list. It's low. I had to ask them because of the change in visa rules. And what's that? What's some of the change in visa rules, man? What's that? Because I wasn't I know that at least at some point, if you earn a certain amount of money, you can get a visa for Colombia. So what changed? I can tell you in some countries in Southeast Asia, they have provided visas and residencies for foreigners, but the path to citizenship, and it's something. And not only that, some of those countries they won't allow you to have dual citizenship. You got to make sure that you have a country that allow you to have multiple citizenships. The Philippines, there is a path to citizenship, but you can only have Filipino citizenship. You can't have dual citizenship. Thailand, I don't even know if there's even a path to citizenship in Thailand. Indonesia, I think that path is like extremely difficult. You know, a lot of us go out there to Bali. I think South Korea maybe there's a path to citizenship, but you gotta learn South Korean. You gotta learn Korean. If you ain't trying to learn Korean, you can ask that. I wanted to do the rentista through Colombia. They changed the rules that rentistas don't count towards permanent residency anymore. Yeah. You'll find a lot with that too, man. And I'm glad you mentioned that. So a lot of countries, rentista is basically like you are earning your money like as a you're working. You got a job, or you're earning your money through some sort of like property rentals or whatever the case is. And a lot of our remote workers take advantage of like a rentista citizenship. Yes. So if it's not passive income, a lot of countries will not allow you to take advantage of their program. So I'm glad you mentioned that. In fact, most countries require you to have a passive income, not a job. So you're a remote worker, and you're looking at taking advantage of a lot of these programs, residency programs. You may not qualify because of that, because they're looking for passive income. And what's passive income? Income that you're not working for. Income that's like constantly coming in. It can come through in the form of investments. If you get Social Security, if you got a pension, if you get disability, that's where it comes from, passive income. And a lot of you got to make sure when you're looking at a country you're going to, you got to make sure you read between the lines what their requirements are. Yep, that's true, man. That's true. I'm glad you mentioned that. But yeah, but that's it, man. Asia is opening up and Africa is opening up. South Africa, you got to earn about 2,000 or something in South Africa. Do I hablar inglés? Yeah. So I got a couple of people here at the pool here. They speak English, so they listen to the conversation. Where are you from? Pakistan. Pakistan. Yeah, of course. Pakistan, India. Pakistan is where they speak Pakistani, and the largest city is what, Karachi? Yeah. I know Pakistani is not India, but I love Indian movies. Yeah, but still they're closely related. They're different countries, but closely related. Right. And Even though there's not a lot of Pakistani movies, there's no Pakistani Bollywood, right? India is big. Yeah, because India is big, so India has more influence, right? But still, there's a lot of. I'm from the United States, but I see a lot of Pakistani influences and Indian movies and India TV. Yeah. So how long have you lived here in Dominican Republic? 20 months. You like it? Yeah. Good. And where part of Pakistan are you from?
I'm from the capital of
Pakistan, Islamabad. Yeah. But the largest city is Karachi. Yeah. Which is
just like a industrial city of like Taiwan, the border is for.
Yeah, because that's where the port is. Like.
Yeah, the biggest port of Pakistan, like.
Yeah. Good. All right, good. So I got a couple of guys here from Pakistan, who been here for 20 months, and from Islamabad, and then they're here in DR enjoying themselves just like I am. And yeah. So do you speak Spanish?
Yeah, like I want to speak Spanish, but I'm learning on the.
Okay, good.
Like simple greetings, I know about that.
Good.
Your mother language is English.
Yeah, of course. Pakistan. If you the other language that correct me if I'm wrong. The other language that people learn in Pakistan is English, because it's just like in Pakistan. Everyone in Pakistan do not speak Pakistani because they have different cultures and have their own different languages. But the way they communicate is English, right?
India and Pakistan speak the same language.
Yeah. India and Pakistan. Yeah. Well, India speaks many languages, but they speak English too. Yeah.
But like you speak, your mother language is English.
Well, I speak Spanish.
Yeah, your mother language is Spanish.
Yeah. Good. So yeah, he just breaking down to me some stuff about Pakistan. That's cool. Hey man, I'm a YouTuber. You want to do a video on Pakistan?
I want to try my language. I don't know about the language.
No. But you want to do a video about Pakistan? Yeah.
Yo, what's your channel?
Profe Agayu.
How much subscribers you got?
I got 1,700 and something. Yeah. Profe Agayu. Yeah.
So you live here?
Yeah, I live here. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah, man. So that's basically it. I want to have you all just consider your options, right? I know I've been talking about the Americas and Europe, but there's also options in Africa as well. Like I said, South Africa is opening up. You got to earn about $2,000 and something a month to get into that program, to get a residency in South Africa and work towards getting a South African citizenship. Their passport is pretty strong too. They have one of the strongest passports in Africa. You'll find that Cape Verde also has a program as well. Their passport is not that strong. I mean, their passport is probably even weaker than Dominican passport, or they're probably like the same level. But it opens you up to visa free travel to West Africa and much of Africa, because Cape Verde is part of the West African Alliance there. And for Cape Verde, you only got to earn. They do euros, so I mean it's like It's it's definitely less than 2,000 euros. But yeah, there's options if you want to do some places in the Caribbean. I think the only one that has something is DR. The other places they do citizenship by investment, where you gotta like buy real estate or donate, 100,000, 150,000, or buy a real estate that same amount of money to get a citizenship. But for much of the Caribbean, they have a really good the passports are pretty strong as well. But yeah, there's options out there. Take advantage of it. See what you can do with it. But hey, that's all I got. I'm at 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I'm getting hungry. So there you go. That's all I got. Anybody got any questions? Extra? You got anything else? Anything else you want to share with the group? Hey, brother, I appreciate your support. Appreciate the conversation. All right, that's all I got. Hey, be easy. Take care. Hope you got something out of this video. Make sure you subscribe, like, share with your family and friends. And there it is. Thanks, brother, man. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it, brother. All right, talk to you soon. Peace.